Let me ask, if the diaphragm is stuck in the lower position, do people now have anterior pelvic tilt? Is it anterior or posterior tilt? Why is it posterior? If people are always sitting, then why doesn't the thoracic spine move backward? Who told you that the pelvis tilts posteriorly when inhaling? When inhaling, the sacrum tilts posteriorly and the ilium rotates anteriorly. Can you understand? When inhaling, doesn't the ilium rotate forward? Yeah. So how is it posterior tilt when the ilium rotates forward? When both ilia rotate forward, what is that, yo? It's not anterior tilt. Anterior pelvic tilt occurs when the sacrum nods and the coccyx lifts while both ilia rotate forward. That's what is called anterior tilt. Can you understand? Do you remember that anterior pelvic tilt is often accompanied by excessive lumbar curvature, right? So, if both ilia rotate forward and the sacrum tilts posteriorly, does the lumbar curve straighten or increase? I'm asking you, do you think the lumbar spine moves more with the sacrum or with the ilium? It definitely follows the sacrum. So when the sacrum tilts posteriorly, does the lumbar spine straighten or does it become more straightened? So when both ilia rotate forward, it's not called anterior pelvic tilt. This is called bilateral ilium anterior rotation. And only when the sacrum also moves forward with it is it called anterior tilt. Can you understand? Currently, the majority of your members' pelvic states are bilateral ilium anterior rotation, with the left side rotating more forward and the sacrum tilting posteriorly. Can you understand? That's why the lumbar curve becomes straightened. Many people equate sacrum posterior tilt with posterior pelvic tilt, but that's not the case. Both ilia rotate backward, and the sacrum also tilts posteriorly. That's what constitutes posterior pelvic tilt. So your member's issue is that during this low point, the ilium rotates forward. Therefore, whether you train them according to an anterior pelvic tilt program or a posterior pelvic tilt program, it's incorrect.
Can you understand? Yes, I can.
It's neither anterior pelvic tilt nor posterior pelvic tilt. It is an anterior rotation of the ilium and a posterior tilt of the sacrum. Alright, let's move on quickly because I don't have much time to explain the theory to you. Here is the starting point of the pelvic floor muscles. I won't go into their function, but what you need to know is that the maximum strength of the pelvic floor muscles is not as great as the maximum strength of the abdominal muscles. Do you agree? The strength of the pelvic floor muscles is not as great as that of the abdominal muscles. Do you agree? Because the abdominal muscles include the rectus abdominis, external oblique, internal oblique, and transverse abdominis. Isn't it true that in terms of area, they are also larger than the pelvic floor muscles, eh? So the pelvic floor muscles cannot compete with the abdominal muscles. This means that although both have the function of exhalation, you should not train the abdominal muscles before the pelvic floor muscles, because they inherently cannot compete with them, right? Therefore, when you guide members in breathing exercises, you must first train their pelvic floor muscles. And you cannot train the abdominal muscles first. Now let me teach you a method for exercising